coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga. We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Really?
We coming for you, nigga.
Finally!
We coming for you, nigga.
Mikasa Sukasa. You Eddie, right?
Yeah.
Look like Eddie Guerrero, man. You like to watch wrestling?
Yep.
Have you ever watched wrestling? On weed? That's the way to see it, man! It's rock!
What up, world? It's your boy Physics, and you know what time it is. It's May 2nd. Welcome to another Wild News Joint. Could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I thank you for that. On today's episode, we're talking about the NXT 2.0 cuts that happened over this weekend. We're also talking about what's in the future for Roman Reigns and what big opponent will he possibly be facing during that time period. A women's tag team group take a break. Bullet Club is back and more right after this.
Really? This is my yard now. It doesn't matter what
So this past Friday, and especially Friday evening, the WWE axe was swinging, and it was swinging around NXT 2.0. 10 NXT talent were cut, and that list includes Dexter Lumis, Michael Bivens, Dakota Kai, Harlan, Persia Perota, Raylan Devine, Draco Anthony, Vish Kenya, Mila Milani, Blair Baldwin. Of course, according to Fightful, John Laurinaitis sent out an email citing budget cuts as the reason for yesterday's NXT releases. In the case of Parker Boudreaux, also known as Harlan, it sounds like NXT coaches were happy with the progress that he was having in the ring. The NXT talents released on that day are on a 30-day non-compete clause that will officially become free agents from WWE on from Sunday, May 29th. Before his release on Friday, WWE had plans for Michael Bivens. When it came to Michael Bivens, according to Fightful Select, they pitched him as a potential manager for almost months ago before MVP was picked to do that mantle. It was also noted in a report that LA Knight was considered for the spot as well. Bivens was asked about re-signing an extension back in February, but reportedly made it clear he did not want to resign. According to Fightful Reports, Bivens' WWE contract was set to expire towards the beginning of 2023. Dakota Kai reportedly had plans on leaving WWE as well before the company released her on Friday. According to Dane Meltzer, Vince didn't see Dakota Kai as a potential main roster wrestler or a future for her when it comes to the main roster. More WWE releases could be happening soon, according to Dane Meltzer on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio. Meltzer revealed that there are people within who think that the 10 NXT wrestlers who were released on Friday won't be the only ones. Mercer knows how he's heard rumblings about future releases. My take on it is when it comes to Dakota Kai, I just don't see why Vince didn't see a future. And I'm pretty sure once she saw that right on the wall, she knew that she was going to be gone. Even Dave Meltzer said that once the rumors of her constantly being about to be called up and it didn't happen, and then we see Raquel got called up and she was there, it was kind of written on the wall that she was not going to be there. And it's unfortunate because there was a little back and forth. Dakota Kai saying thank you to everybody for following her while she was in WWE, and Bailey was saying that one of the main reasons she wanted to heal very quickly was to be one of the people to tear down, tear down the world together with Dakota Kai, because she felt like they could have done something great. And I believe that. I feel at this moment, the women's roster in WWE is kind of stale, and losing somebody like Dakota Kai is not good, because we all know the future points towards AEW, and now you're just making that AEW brand have a lot more really good wrestlers. And the fact that we got to see Dakota Kai go from this bland baby face to this really good heel means that she can step into a heel role in AEW, or she should step into a babyface role. Whatever road she decides, she'll be okay. And it's just making AEW look good. Not talking about Stokely Hathaway, aka Michael Bivens, as Kid Get Money. Welcome, Kid Get Money in the building. Said Michael Bivens was a fire manager. His facial expression were top notch. Yeah, he was made for TV. If I was WWE, I would have done anything to get him, like to make sure he was on the main roster. Yeah, he didn't get almost, but no, we had to make sure. But if his whole idea was he was gone no matter what, that he felt he was better used somewhere else, possibly AEW, possibly Ring of Honor, possibly Impact, then there was nothing they could done. They could have, you know, gave him the world and said that, he was going to manage, the next best thing. Like, I mean, I feel like the only thing that would have kept him there is if they would have been like Roman Reigns was going to turn on Paul Heyman, and then Michael Bivens was going to be the guy to lead the bloodline, which, I mean, I feel like when it comes to him, he's really next up as far as managers that can talk somebody into being something that great. Kid Get Money says AEW doesn't treat the women's division right, so I hate to see female wrestlers leave WWE. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, but WWE is in this weird spot where they forget that they have this influx of great women wrestlers, and they don't know what to do with them. They're like, oh, we don't know what our next challenge is going to be. And it's like, we could have seen Dakota Kai versus Dakota Kai is easily has a ton of people she can go against, that you could build her to face against. And she's a great hand in the ring. AEW is still trying to figure out what the hell they're doing with the women's division, but when you have that much talent, it's always going to rise to the top. That's basically all that happened with WWE. We got to remember WWE wasn't doing right by the women. Triple H was, but WWE wasn't. And due to the fact that everything was going great in Brooklyn with Bianca Belair and Bailey, and just the ball that was rolling in NXT, it made WWE have to shift. And I feel like due to them just being like, well, out of the two major ones, we're the ones that have the biggest thing going, because when it comes to our women main eventing and our women being put in the spotlight, they show up, they do their thing, they put on great matches. But all the way up to there, they're very shaky because they know they don't really have to compete with AEW. But I feel like the more talent AEW gets, and as I've been saying for the last few weeks, they're getting away from the Joshi wrestlers. Even though one is about to come up, and we'll talk about, one's about to come back, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. It seems like once they start focusing on these brand of wrestlers, it's just going to be, it's going to push WWE to then go harder again. But now you're missing really good hands, really good wrestlers that can move storylines, be potential champions, or just do great things in the ring, because you allow them to go to AEW because you didn't see the potential, even though everybody sees the potential of Dakota Kai. So that's just where we are. I'm surprised about Harlan. I'm surprised they gave up on him so much, because he seemed to be a chosen one, the next Brock Lesnar. It just seemed like they were going to have big things for him. But it seems once they cut his hair, they kind of just really shifted him from who he was supposed to be and what they were really going for. I guess they were trying to see, like, if we throw him in a fire and, we take away all the things that we were bragging about him about, and see if he can float, then we go from there. But it didn't work. I felt like they had something when there were whole things about Eva Marie being his manager and what he was going to do next. I felt like that was his lane if you wanted him to be successful, and kind of failed him on that. And of course, they pushed him too soon. He should have been a Performance Center another year or two, but that's kind of what they do with NXT. I did it with Nia Jax. She should have been there a little bit longer, but they wanted to run with the name of who she was related to and everything else involved with her to bring that little bit of star power into the main roster. And we're where we are right now, where she's kind of persona non grata with anything that has to do with wrestling. So that's just where we are. But let's move to the next segment. That is WWE reportedly holding off major Roman Reigns match for a big show. WWE is holding off doing a singles match between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre until a bigger event, according to Dave Meltzer on the latest edition of Wrestling Observer Radio. The two men will be colliding at the upcoming WrestleMania Backlash pay-per-view, but that is part of a six-man tag team match. Both Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre were injected into the original plan of unification between the Usos and RK Bro. At this stage, it's unknown whether any of the titles will ever be on the line. So we had that. Following WrestleMania Backlash, WWE has the annual Hell in a Cell in June. After that, it's headed to two major stadium events, which is July for Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, which could be when WWE pulls the trigger on Roman Reigns' encounter. Of course, WWE also has the Clash at the Castle show in September, which is another stadium event because this one is taking place in the United Kingdom. McIntyre is expected to have a big role on the card. When speaking to Coldaholic Wrestling, Drew made it clear that facing Roman Reigns at the UK show would be a dream scenario. If I had to guess, we will not see Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre until SummerSlam. They're going to be avoiding each other until then. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an Usos versus RK Bro match in a Hell in a Cell. That seems like where we're going to be leading to. SummerSlam, Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns. Drew loses. Then we have the Clash at the Castle, UK. It will be for the Raw Men's Championship. The World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship. That's what I meant to say. It's going to be for the WWE Championship, and Roman Reigns will lose. Which then he gets to not have two belts anymore. He's still the Universal Champion. That long streak continues. And, Drew McIntyre has been dying to get that pop again that he had from the Royal Rumble. And now he gets to do it in front of, his biggest fans. He gets to do it in front of them. He is the biggest UK wrestler in WWE. So the fact he gets to do it and do it in front of them, gets a huge victory, huge go home, fireworks going off. It'll be great. And then Drew McIntyre could then move himself to Raw. And then once we have that done with, we can slowly have Cody Rhodes take it, because I feel like Cody Rhodes is going to win Money in the Bank. And that's the belt he's going for, because that history is tied to the history of his dad, and him taking the belt off of Drew McIntyre, which will be great, won't be that big of a deal with him losing it. And if we're still going off of the date, it means Drew McIntyre is only going to have that belt for about 3 weeks, unfortunately. If WWE is going for that storyline, and because it will be a Raw, I think it'd be September 27th, which means he'll have that belt for about 2 weeks, and we're done. And the Cody Rhodes era begins, and he will have that belt to WrestleMania. So we will see. Next, on our next segment, the Inspiration announced they're stepping away from in-ring action. The Inspiration, Cassie Lee and Jesse McKay, announced earlier on Friday that they are indefinitely stepping away from in-ring action. The news was shared by the tag team in Impact Wrestling in a joint statement. Inspiration made their Impact Wrestling debuts at Bound for Glory pay-per-view last October. They defeated the Case, Havoc, and Rosemary that same night to win the Impact Knockout Tag Team titles. Inspiration held the Knockout Tag Team titles until the Sacrifice pay-per-view this past March, and were dethroned by the Influence, Madison Rayne, and Tenille Dashwood. Their final appearance for Impact was during the Countdown to Rebellion pre-show Saturday night, where they lost a Knockouts tag title rematch to the Influence. Inspiration did not appear at Impact TV tapings the following day. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, the stories going around last week Impact's television taping was that both women want to try acting. One of the women has already landed a new role since news of their departure from Empire Wrestling broke last week. Writer, director, producer Michael Matteo Rossi announced Friday that Jesse McKay has been cast in his upcoming feature film, The Charisma Killer. So, hey, they got to do their acting. I feel like with Impact, I'm not sure how much leeway they got, and how, with them being away, it kind of seems like WWE is really good at making sure that their wrestlers can get to and fro to do their acting and then come back and be in the ring. Because a lot of traveling, since there are independent contractors, a lot of their traveling is on them. Seems like when WWE knows that their wrestlers are going to be in something major, to kind of help out in that department to make sure, like, oh, can you make the show, things like that. If depending on where this film is being filmed, which could be, California, Canada, New Orleans, Miami, Atlanta, the common places are Belarus, you're going to have to be away from around just to do any of these acting gigs. So that's just where we are right now. We probably won't see them for another year or so. And then again, there's also the outside thing of, like, both of them are in, one is married to Sean Spears. I think the other one is married as well. So, kids are also a possibility in the future. So there's no telling when we'll see the Inspiration again / the Iconics, but wish them nothing but the best. Keegan Money says Billy Kay's handing out resume gimmick was funny as hell. She was able to get anything over. That's, and now she's acting. So I'm not even mad at that. Keegan Money says those McIntyre plans won't sit well with the tribal chief. Well, that's because he's dealing with, the actual chief of Vince McMahon. So, he has no say in that. So that's just where we are right now. And, he's eventually going to have to lose the World Championship belt. The SmackDown belt is the only important belt for him. So that's just where we are for them. Now let's get to some quick hits. And one of those quick hits is Bullet Club is back at Dontaku. It went down after Exile founding member Tamatonga won the never open weight belt. He was jumped by the Good Brothers Gallows and Anderson, who made their return to New Japan for the first time since signing with WWE back in 2006. That happened in between clubs Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens winning the IWGP tag titles. And Ishimori defeated El Desperado for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight crown after Tanahashi won the vacant IWGP US Championship against Ishii. Owens hit the ring to confront the Ace, but it was only the distraction. The masked man took out Tanahashi, and it was revealed to be Juice Robinson. It looked like he was leaving, but it was all a swerve. We got worked after Okada fought off a challenge for his IWGP World Heavyweight Championship against Naito. Switchblade Jay White made his first appearance in Japan since last year. Hirohito beat down the champ, and then were joined by Anderson and the rest of the Bullet Club members that are not a part of the House of Torture for a celebration of the group's birthday because they were debuted on Dantaku in 2013. So it looks like before the New Japan Pro Wrestling vs. AEW Forbidden Door thing goes down, Bullet Club is now back in full effect. They got belts. People are coming back. Juice Robinson has now joined, even though Bullet Club has been a nuisance for him ever since he's been in New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have turned a new leaf on that end, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a returning Kenny Omega at the Forbidden Door thing, and he aligns himself with Bullet Club. We will see. Speaking of AEW, it looks as though former AEW Women's Champion Rio will be making her return to AEW soon. According to Midwest Marks podcast, Rio confirmed on her subscriber-only blog that she has healed up and will soon be returning to the United States to resume touring with AEW. Wish her the best when she comes back and she stays 100% healthy. Former NXT North American champion Leon Ruff made his AEW debut during Sunday's AEW Dark tapings. So glad to see him back. Hell of a wrestler. Sammy Guevara was injured doing a 630 off the ladder in the main event of this week's Dynamite. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, Guevara told others that he will be okay, but the severity of his injury is unknown. This past week, him and Tay won the AAA mixed tag titles, and he didn't wrestle at all. It was all her because he couldn't wrestle. So we'll see how long he'll be out of action. Wrestlers Urban Newsletter notes that Robert Stone's name has been officially changed to Mr. Stone. Ciampa and Stone both lost their first names this week due to Vince McMahon's new rule that talent cannot use any part of their real names. There we go. NXT schedules calls for an In Your House show on US Network in June and a live event on Peacock in July, but nothing is currently planned for SummerSlam weekend. So looks like we're going to have a takeover in July. Per the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Bret Hart's current deal with WWE is a merchandise deal and wouldn't prevent him from working in AEW as previously believed. So I'm guaranteeing you in the finals for the Owen Hart invitation, we will see Bret Hart, and we'll see where it goes from there. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter, there have at least been talks of moving NXT back to Full Sail University, and I wouldn't be mad at that. The energy at Full Sail is unmatched, and I feel like they kind of need to bring it back to get somewhere back to that feel of NXT, and not NXT 2.0. Now let's talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling tonight. Tonight, WWE Raw will take place in Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, with the WrestleMania Backlash Go Home build. WWE has not announced any matches for tonight's Raw, but we do know the Bloodline will be there, and it will be a takeover. SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, will be with him, and of course, we should see Drew McIntyre and Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro there as well. Let's be sure about what's going on with Raw. Let me look at the WWE Twitter, see if they posted any matches, because a lot of times that's exactly what they do, because they're making it up as they go. And if you don't see anything during the day, that means we won't see anything for a hot minute. Yep, there is nothing there. But also, let's all say happy birthday to the most electrifying man in the entertainment, and that is The Rock. You could have been. Let's see what's going on. Sammy has a death wish and does the I'm so crazy time before trying to kill himself. Yeah. And that's exactly the role he goes with. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with me today. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me, and I thank you for that. Make sure to tune in on Wednesday for the next show. And until then enjoy yourself, live your best life, and enjoy some wrestling tonight. Peace.
Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live next. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestling on We, and thanks for watching.